Alright, so I remembered I didn't in class show you guys how to set up the wireframe, so really quick I'm just going to do that. So I have this little dice, I've rendered like 60 frames of a turntable, and I'm just going to assign this a new material, and again, this is just to get the wireframe. And normally I do an AI standard surface, in this case I want an AI wireframe, and if I render this, you'll notice that it looks pretty much, like this. So there's like two things that I'm going to do before I go any further with this. So first of all, there's no reason to render the background. I don't really want this wireframe in there. So in this case, I'm just going to hide all of the extra stuff and just render pretty much a frame on an empty background. So now I would get this. You'll see how it renders ridiculously quickly. And if I look at the alpha, you can see that I don't have any of the background stuff. And again, that's just kind of to save time. The other thing you'll notice is that the wireframe is triangulated by default. Not entirely sure why they do this. I'm just going to go into the material and set edge type from triangles to polygons, and you'll see that it is then done in quads. I think I'm also maybe just going to increase the line width like a tiny bit. Maybe something like this isn't completely horrible. Sure. What the heck. And then I'm just going to set up my renders pretty much the same way that I normally would. So just go into my render settings. I think I have through frame 66, so I'll render out 66 frames. And this one I'm just going to call wireframe. Alright, and I'm just going to do PNG with int16 and try rendering it. So in my rendering menu, I'm just going to go to render sequence. For Arnold, I use render sequence. For some reason on my computer, it gets really grumpy. Wait for it. Alright. So I'm actually going to stop this render. You can see it's going like crazy fast. I'm just going to use EXR because apparently this version of PNG does not save alphas, which is irritating. So I'm just going to, again, switch that and do render sequence. Hopefully this will actually have... Actually, you know what else I could do? I really don't want 100,000 billion EXRs, oh god, on my computer. So what I'm going to do is actually just put in a super, crappy fake background into this. Basically, I'm just going to throw a sphere into my scene, make it ginormous, and then I'm going to assign that a new material and just make it a surface shader with a color of white. And this will also render really fast. So you can see this is what you get. And this way, it's just not going to multiply a black background onto the rest of my render, turning it black. So again, I'm just going to go render settings, switch this back to PNG, and then just do another render sequence. So this should overwrite my original images, and now I just need to get rid of those weird EXRs that I saved randomly. Alright, so I'm just going to show you really quick how to composite these together in something like, this is DaVinci Resolve, it's the only thing I have on my computer. The process is the exact same for After Effects, Premiere, Photoshop, etc. So I'm just going to go to File, Import Media, and grab all of my EXRs from my turntable. You can see it brings them in, and it brings them in as one image. So if you scrub through, you can kind of see that it's turning. I'm just going to drag that down onto my timeline. We hit this. I'm just going to do a real quick and dirty color adjustment to this. Nothing particularly good by any stretch of the imagination, but it is now sort of visible. Great. Next thing I'm going to do is just do the same thing again. So File, Import Media, and grab all of my wireframes. And again, it brings it in as a single image. That process is a little bit different depending on the program you're using. If you're having issues, just look up, or just, go to Google and do import image sequence, whatever program you're using, and just search that. Usually it's pretty straightforward. Sometimes there's a little button you have to tick. Resolve just does it automatically. So, you'll notice that we have basically this. It's just kind of like a turntable of the dice. So I want this to be basically a wireframe overlay on the image behind or below it. So click on the image, go to, somewhere you'll see like composite mode. it's set to normal. So same thing again you see in Photoshop. Any self-respecting program has this option. Just set this layer to multiply, and you can see that now we have a nice overlay over the original little turntable here. So this is what I would expect to see from your renders. Hopefully this makes sense.